Well, at this moment, let's now cut across live to President Cyril Ramaphosa addressing NUM members in Boksburg.
Tried to organize mine workers had failed. The last effective effort that was made was in 1946, when the African Mine Workers Union was formed, but was then crushed during the 1946 strike, as led by J.B. Marx and a number of other leaders of the Congress movement. It had taken since 1946 to 1982 for mine workers to have an organization that would talk on their behalf and fight for their rights. In 1982, around August, the process of organizing mine workers then got underway, and we went through a number of mines throughout the country: Carletonville, Western Area, Klerksdorp, Free State, and Witbank, and thereafter we started spreading to many, many other areas where mining happened in those days. It was then seen that mine workers were responding very positively to the call to become members of this union. And we could then see that a gigantic union was in the process of being formed. And in December, mine workers descended in their numbers to Matlosana to form what would later become a voice of the voiceless workers in the mining industry. Just over 1,800 members attended that historic conference that gave birth to this gigantic union. Like any other union that is formed, of course, we experience great resistance. But at that conference, great leaders of this union were elected. James Motlatsi was the first president. Elijah Bakhai was the vice president. And out of that process, we elected a leadership that demonstrated that they were dedicated to advancing the interests and the cause of mine workers. Those days, because those were still the dark days of apartheid, even places to sleep were not plentiful. So conferences that were held were carried out throughout the night. And the union, as it was formed then, had its first conference throughout the whole night of a Saturday, and then in the morning on Sunday, the union was formed and emerged with a new leadership. Thus, a great union had emerged amongst mine workers. And mine workers truly felt, or indeed, this is a union that would fight for their rights, because as it went around, it met resistance. It struggled to get recognition. The mine bosses were not willing to see this union emerging in the various mines. It was difficult, it was hard, but I want to pay tribute to the mine workers of those days who, through their determination, through their courage and their bravery, formed this union. And today it's a real pride for me to see some of those members here today. I see Comrade Director Matala here. So this union, comrades, rests on the shoulders of those comrades. I hear that James Motlatsi was here earlier. Comrade Director Matala is also here, and many other comrades are still around to carry on this struggle of mine workers. And for us, it is a real pride that many of you, and some of them are still in the leadership of the National Union of Mine Workers. Ka matsatsi ao, ho ne ho sena ntho ena ya hore ho tla ilo robalwa dihoteleng. Ho ne ho robalwa ditulong, batho ba dutse conferenceng ya NUM, ba phasa di-resolution. Kajeko lena hae ho monate le robala dihoteleng. Ka nnete ntho di ntle di monate mona ho lona. Mine workers only started going to hotels. I'm trying to remember, Comrade Director will remember, I think it was around 1988 or 1990. I remember one incident where we decided, you know, we've got to give the best to mine workers. Even though we did not have money, rather we are going to give the best to mine workers, because mine workers came largely from the rural areas in, you know, Lesotho, Mozambique, and Botswana, and so forth, and the other parts of South Africa. And we said, no, we are going to take them to a hotel in Johannesburg. Conference ya pele he ya hoteleng ibe tshwarwa Johannesburg. I remember one of the mine workers in the morning, after spending a night in a hotel room, Atsoa was saying, Comrade James Motlatse, hey, Comrade Jimmy, I got into this hotel room, I looked at the way the bed was made up, and I decided, no, I'm not going to sleep on this bed because I won't be able to make up the bed the way it was made up. And poor NUM member slept on the floor. He did not know what to know. In a hotel, you can sleep in the bed. It doesn't matter. You wake up, there are people who will make up the bed. But what that meant was we were actually through that giving dignity to mine workers. We were giving dignity to mine workers so that mine workers can begin to reap some of the benefits from the sweat of their brows. So the formative years of the NUM were those during which the apartheid regime had heightened its force and brutality against anyone they deemed to be an enemy. See, when we organized, we always knew, we were not only against the mine management, we were also against its bond, as I say, hostel. We were also against the mine security. We were also acting against the police. So all these forces were arraigned against mine workers, against the organizers of the union. And these were years when the mine bosses colluded with the apartheid regime and threatened mine workers with unlawful arrests. And a number of mine workers were arrested. They were detained. And if they dared to oppose anything that was being done, they could even be killed. We were unshaken in our resolve, and you as members of the union were unshaken, you were fearless, and you were able to build a union that became the largest and the most powerful union in the history of South Africa. By the end of our first year, NUM was already boasting well over 20,000 members. We recruited and employed very strong organizers and shop stewards who serviced our growing members over the years. 1987 was a historic year for all of us because that was when the 21-day strike happened. That was when mine workers had decided that they were taking control not only of their working areas, but of their own lives in the working place. And that was when mine workers stood firm, demanded a wage increase, and were determined to go on a long strike of 21 days. Following that strike, more than 50,000 mine workers were dismissed. The aim of the management at that time of the various mining companies was to destroy the NUM. The reason they decided to take on the NUM in a strike in 1987 was to destroy it, because they saw that the NUM was growing far too quickly, far too powerful. And they decided, now is the time to destroy the union. They failed to destroy your union. Your union is still here. This decision to destroy was taken at a high level. It must disappear. But you refuse to disappear. As mine workers and as members of the NUM. And today, your union is still around. A great victory for mine workers was when the Mine Workers Provident Fund was introduced in 1989 to cater for both black and white mine workers. This is partly the reason why we can safely say that 1987, that strike that you went to, the Great Miner Strike, was actually the one strike that changed the labor relations, not only in the mining industry, but in the country as a whole. It is through the NUM's gallant fights that mine workers, who after many years of service were given only a helmet and a pair of boots on their retirement, that today you can receive retirement benefits. That was the work of the NUM. And as a union, your union, the NUM, did not just focus on issues that have to do with the workplace, but they understood that mining is also a site of struggle. It is also a site of struggle because it was in the mining industry that apartheid was baked to great perfection. It was in the mining industry that they were able to enforce the laws that prevented workers from getting into certain positions in employment. For instance, mine workers could not be miners, they could not be shift bosses, and comrades, it was this union that campaigned and made sure that black workers could become miners and they could become shift bosses. The industry and the government of the day had continued to say that black people could not be put in charge of explosives and they have to drill the hole, and yes, they can charge, but they cannot detonate the explosives. And it was this union that argued that black mine workers do the work and they can do the work better than any other worker in the underground space, and argued that they should be given the right to become miners, shift bosses, mine captain, and even mine managers. And today you've got black managers because the NUM campaigned for that. And then, comrades, then we went to the Chamber of Mines and we said, start training black workers. Yes, send them to go and get professional training at universities so that they can become mining engineers, so that they can become metallurgists, and so forth. The Chamber of Mines refused. It was at that point then when we chose a number of workers, about 10 workers, and sent them to Cuba. Comrade James Mutlatsi and I had been to Cuba through the underground processes. We had visited Cuba and we had met Fidel Castro, and we had said we would want to come and train mine workers here in Cuba. And they said, send them. And we sent them to Cuba to go and get trained. They came back as engineers. They came back as engineers, people who are qualified to be mine managers. Today, they are working in the industry as mine managers, they are engineers, and we were showing that the NUM was completely ahead of the times because the NUM knew what needed to be done to advance the situation and the position of black mine workers. It was also the NUM that campaigned persistently for the formation of a federation, a progressive and revolutionary federation for all workers in South Africa. The NUM was one of the unions that led the process for the formation of COSATU. Today we have COSATU also as the result, the leadership and the participation of the National Union of Mine Workers. When you wear your T-shirt, you will see that it is written at the bottom, COSATU. We did that deliberately to demonstrate that COSATU belongs to the NUM and the NUM belongs to COSATU. And it was also a clear sign that will never change. And the first president of COSATU was none other than a mine worker called Elijah Bagai. He was the first president. And it was Elijah Bagai who, at the first rally of COSATU in Durban, deviated from his written speech. He had been given his speech, bamnike his speech, but funda apha wena Elijah Bagai. UBagai umbhahi njengoba besimbiza. Wasithatha eso speech wasibeka eceleni. Wathi ndifuna ukuthetha noBhoda. Wathi wena Bhoda, lamapasi ngikunika 6 months. You must do away namapasi. Asisafuna ukuba namapasi. Wathi xa ungayenzi njalo uzasifumana kakuhle thina siyiCOSATU. 6 months later, amapasi waphela ngenxa kaBagai. And your union, comrades, was the first union to adopt the Freedom Charter as a seminal document that articulates the aspirations of our people. In 1996, it is this union that also spearheaded the process that saw the enacting of the Mine, Health and Safety Act. Le Freedom Charter yona. After the NUM adopted the Freedom Charter, bonke abantu bavuka. Everybody woke up. Everybody started adopting the Freedom Charter. Everybody following in the NUM's lead. So NUM was the first, yagqibezela ke ngeCOSATU. COSATU also adopted the Freedom Charter. It was an important moment and signal at that time because that is when the struggle was reaching its highest point. That is when we all knew that our freedom was around the corner. That is when the working people in our country were properly and fully mobilized. The adoption of the Freedom Charter was therefore a very clear signal. The NUM comrades continued to play a very meaningful role in the politics of the tripartite alliance, in my former capacity as the General Secretary of this union, when I was asked about why we formed this union, my response was, we formed the NUM so that it can be the shield and the spear of mine workers. This is what the NUM was formed to do. So that with a spear, it can launch attacks, it can march forward and eliminate all forms of exploitation and discrimination that was leveled against mine workers. It became a shield because it was only the NUM that could defend mine workers, and it continues to be the only union in the mining industry that can defend mine workers. The NUM became an important weapon against tribalism. Before the NUM was formed, tribalism was promoted, it was encouraged, and it was planted throughout the mining industry. The mining bosses thrived on dividing workers, and they divided workers along tribal lines, close quotes. That's what I said some years ago. Now, this issue, comrades, when we formed the NUM, we found the workers in the industry divided not only along tribal lines, but they were also divided along places where they came from. That type of regionalism. And obviously, they were divided along racial lines as well. So this was a highly divided industry, and of course, the main division, of course, was that they were poor workers. They were also divided along rural and urban lines. And this is the industry that, when the NUM was formed, it found those conditions it found in the industry. And it was the stance that the NUM took right from the beginning against tribalism that defined this union as the union that would indeed be the spear and the shield of mine workers as a whole. The NUM united workers right across tribal lines, right across racial lines, right across class lines. It united workers. And if there's anything that you can be proud of about your union, it is the fact that it is the one union that took a very firm stance against tribalism. You can applaud yourself of being a non-tribal organization in the mining industry. Particularly because the way the mining industry was organized. As you recall, there used to be a hostel for Xhosa-speaking workers, Sotho-speaking workers, Shangaan-speaking workers, and so on, and Tswana-speaking, and so forth. When the NUM got into the industry, having taken that firm position, it began to obliterate and melt down all those divisions. And we were very proud that the faction fights along tribal lines that used to take place suddenly came to an end. More and more, we found that workers were united against worker issues, against issues that have to do with their demands. Now, comrades, I am reflecting on this brief history because the theme of your conference is rebuild, re-engineer NUM towards reclaiming its historical posture. So it is important that you should be reminded of the history of this union if you are to successfully rebuild and re-engineer it to become well-positioned to reclaim its historical position. You are a union with a great history. And your history does not start in 1982. Your history starts when mining started in this country. And it reached a high point in 1946 because you are the inheritors of what happened in 1946 and the African Mine Workers Union. You have inherited that greatness, that struggle, that suffering, that vision, and that courage and determination. That is what you have inherited as members of the National Union of Mine Workers. You are members of a great union which is not a Mickey Mouse union, a great union that has a proud history. And you must wear that badge with dignity. You must wear that badge knowing that you are standing on the shoulders of great leaders like J.B. Marx. And this, indeed, comrades, is a challenging time to reclaim and rebuild the historical posture of the NUM. Given the emergence of competition that you experience for membership in your space, your membership has since shrunk drastically. You used to be the largest union in the country. Your membership has now shrunk. You used to be the largest union on the African continent. Your membership has shrunk. You used to be the fastest growing union in the world. Your membership has since shrunk. This conference must find time to discuss how you can build a strong union amidst the challenges that you face. What you face now, comrades, should never be seen as something that you did not expect. You should have known that this moment will come, and there will come a time when you, and all of you are leaders here, when you as leaders will have to confront the reality of competing for membership in the mining industry. The vision and the mission of this union is to organize all mine, construction, and energy workers. It is also to protect, to promote, and advance the interests of your members. It is also to unite and to turn the dreams of your members into reality. But also importantly, it is to inspire your members, to service your members. But it is also to ensure that when you do render service to your member, it is quality service. The vision and mission of this union is not to promote certain individuals and serve their interests. The vision and mission of this union has never revolved around serving the interests of individuals. It has always been servicing the interests of the members of the National Union of Mine Workers. And it is for that reason that we have always said, from 1982, mine workers come first, the leaders come last. That is what is important. So, comrades, I'm saying all this so that we can remember the genesis, the history of this union. Now, given the structure of the mining industry, there is still a case for the existence of a union such as the National Union of Mine Workers. Given its rich history and its track record of always being on the side of workers. The tripartite, the alliance needs a strong union to organize mine workers. This union remains our anchor ally in the mining space. This union remains our anchor ally as part of COSATU. This conference must therefore answer very honestly if a union such as the NUM has failed mine workers to a point where they want to go and seek refuge elsewhere. You need to ask yourself, why? Why, other than retrenchments? Because retrenchments have had a devastating impact on your industry and therefore your members. But we also need to ask ourselves, why have you also lost members to other unions? That is a serious question you must ask yourself. Because as the NUM, you stood for many, many years as the only union that could provide the best service to mine workers. The question is, why have other unions now come into your space to campaign and recruit members away from you? You need to be honest and ask yourself those questions. And in doing so, you must ask yourself, with the benefit of hindsight, what is it that the union could have done differently to avoid the loss of its influence in the mining space and consequently the loss of its membership? You need to say, what did we do wrong? Where have we gone wrong to have gotten to this point? As a union, you must continue distinguishing yourself from all other unions in your space by regularly servicing all your members and also ensuring that at all material times you are found to be on the side of mine workers. Our government has concluded a nationwide consultation process on the broad-based socio-economic empowerment charter for the mining and mineral industry with communities that are directly affected by the mining sector. Minister Gwede Mantashe, who not only was your General Secretary, but was also an underground worker in your ministry, in your industry, is now the minister in charge of your sector. And he hit the ground running. When he was given the task to become Minister of Mining, he immediately took to it like a fish takes to water. And he said he is going to consult all stakeholders in the industry, starting with unions, going into consulting with the mine owners, as well as communities. He has done that, and I have really applauded the way that he has gone about doing his work. His door remains open all the time for you and your various leaders to go and talk to the minister at any given time about anything. And it is through the mining charter that we will balance policy certainty and stability in the mining industry. We will also be able to deal with the inequalities through giving quality equity and further promote transformation that will see more stakeholders benefit from this sector. What we want to see as a government is that you as workers in the industry, being key and important stakeholders, you should also benefit. You should benefit from the wealth that is being created from mining in our country. That is important, and that benefit must not only stop with you earning your wages or your bonuses. We want you to become respected as key stakeholders in this industry, which has not been the case up till now. At this stage, the public has also been afforded an opportunity to make comment on the gazetted draft mining charter, and we want you, as a union, as leaders in the union, yes, to also pass your own comment. And we will spare no effort in addressing the challenges that are faced by the mining industry. It is our considered view that the mining sector, in the end, despite all the challenges that it is facing, where there are retrenchments that are going on, we still see mining as a sunrise industry, and we are saying that we can reposition our mining industry in a way where it can continue employing people and paying them good wages and making sure that it is a viable industry in our country. South Africa is still blessed with many minerals. We still have many more minerals than many other countries. We still remain leaders in a number of other minerals. Gold used to be the mineral that we used to lead in, but our gold resources have been depleted. And there are quite a number of other minerals that we are still able to show leadership in. And as we have said before, we want this mining charter to be finalized so that we can reposition this industry, so that the industry can become more and more attractive to investors once more. From the government point of view, as we look at our economy and the trajectory of our economy, we still see a role and a space for mining to continue playing a key role in the growth of our economy and a contribution that it can make to our gross domestic product. For many years, mine bosses placed profits ahead of the lives of mine workers. One life lost is one too many. And I remember many years ago when we went to see the bosses in the Chamber of Mines, and we were raising the fact that we cannot continue having an industry that kills more than 1,000 workers in the gold mining industry just to take out those ounces of gold. And one of the key mining executives then, he said, "Mr. Ramaphosa, mining is a dangerous industry. It is like the military." And I said to him, those workers who have come to the industry to work here have not come to be killed. They have come to work. And it is your responsibility to protect them. And it is for this reason that we place the issue of safety in the mines at a very high level. One life that is lost indeed is one too many. We've seen a lot of progress with the mine deaths coming lower and lower over the years, but we've been very concerned by seeing the mine deaths going up in the recent few months. More value needs to be placed on the life of mine workers. Shaft stewards should become guardians of mine workers to make sure, safety shaft stewards for that matter, to make sure that mine workers never ever have to work in any dangerous place in the mining industry. In the past, workers did not have any right to refuse to work in a dangerous place. And today, we have passed laws that say that if you perceive that a place is dangerous to work in, you have all the right to refuse to work in a dangerous place. That is your right, and you must use it. And this indeed will go a long way in helping us increase the number of incidents being brought down where mine workers are forced or are made to work in dangerous places. One of the major industries for mine workers with regard to health and safety was that landmark settlement for all those who have suffered from silicosis and tuberculosis over many, many years. This was an issue that was raised by your union from its formation about silicosis and tuberculosis. And it is only now recently that mine owners finally owned up to the fact that those workers who are in the rural areas, who are suffering from silicosis, chest pains and all that, they contracted it here in the mining industry, and we were very pleased that they agreed to pay the billions and billions that are due to mine workers. And that was a victory also for your union, and we thank your leadership for that. Comrades, you work in an industry that our government wants to pay close attention to. We want to pay close attention to this industry to make sure that this industry does not die, that this industry continues growing, that this industry continues to sustain your jobs, and that this industry increases and grows and employs more and more people. We are particularly pleased that a number of young people and women have come into this industry and are continuing to stream in this industry with great qualifications. And this is a clear sign that indeed this democratic government is opening up spaces for our people to get into those spaces and excel. Today, as you go through the mines, you meet metallurgists who are young and black. You meet mining engineers who are young and black. You meet geologists who are young and black. And that gives us a great deal of pride. But the greatest pride for me is that your union, through the Elijah Bahai Memorial Scholarship, has made sure that many of your children are trained to become engineers, to become geologists, and come and work in this industry. For that, I applaud you as the National Union of Mine Workers, because you've opened up spaces for your own children to come and be trained and to come and work in this industry. It is just over 6 months when the movement of our people, the African National Congress, held its very successful conference in Nasrec. This conference might have represented many things, but for our people it meant the emergence of hope, it meant the emergence of a new dawn, it meant the emergence of a new period for our people and our country. This new dawn and this new period has been well received and well embraced by millions and millions of South Africans. And we would like to thank you as the NUM for the role that you played, not only in the election of the leadership that you wanted, but also in the success of that conference, because a number of you were delegates at that conference. So I say thank you for all that you did to make that conference successful. Going to this conference, we were experiencing very sharp differences within the movement. Post that conference, we can confirm that the hegemony of our movement means quite a lot of things. It also means that we've got to lead this country as we move forward as the African National Congress, to regain the ANC's hegemony over providing leadership to the country as we move on. Because what the ANC had lost was the influence that it has always had in society. The ANC had lost its leadership capability in society. And post that conference, we have seen the ANC regaining the hegemony, the leadership that it has always had, and its influence is beginning once again to increase. In the recent past, what we have failed to do as the mass democratic movement was to provide that type of leadership. But now, after that conference, we're finding that we're able to relate to many organizations in our country that formed the base of the mass democratic movement, many organizations that had started moving away from us as the African National Congress. It is important that we understand that the ANC's role in all this of repositioning our country, of making sure that our country becomes the successful country it is meant to be, is an important one, because the majority of our people, millions and millions, look to the ANC as the leader of the Tripartite Alliance to provide the leadership that should be there. The ANC, as we have always said, is back. The ANC that we have always known in the past is back, and it is ready to provide the leadership of our country going forward. Since that conference, our people have been engulfed in a very positive, revolutionary mood that has signified that what we had been talking about in the past, that the ANC must rid itself of all the things that had happened in the past, of corruption, of all the things that had to do with state capture, were an important moment for the ANC to rid itself thereof, so that the ANC can become once again looked at in very positive light by our people. From this conference also emerged a mandate to engage comrades in an elaborate process of renewal, where we would renew our movement, where we would forge unity and find unity amongst all of us. Our people today have a renewed sense and hope in the African National Congress, but that renewed sense is based on whether the ANC will be able to renew itself. It is also based on whether the ANC will be united. Now, unity, comrades, is not a one-day event. Unity is a process. The unity that we are seeking to forge is a unity that speaks to the principles of the African National Congress. And it is not unity at all costs, where wrong things continue to happen. It is unity that is based on the right things being done. We cannot have unity if wrong things continue being done in the African National Congress. You can only have unity if people are committed to doing the right things, ridding themselves of all wrong and bad practices, and making sure that the ANC does become attractive to the electorate of our country. That is the unity that we are talking about. It is not a unity of convenience. It should be a unity that is based on principles. It should be a unity that is based on the adherence of the values of the African National Congress. It must be unity that says We will not tolerate corruption within our ranks. We will not tolerate state capture. We will seek to do the correct things that our people expect of us. That is the unity that we are talking about. At that conference, comrades, we said what was important as we are moving towards the national elections next year. The important thing is that we must work together. And working together should mean that whether we agree with each other or not, we have been joined together in the African National Congress by the membership. Whether we like each other or not, we have been put together to work for the interests of our people. Even if I do not like the way you look, even if I do not like the way you cut your hair, even if I do not like the way you walk, even if I do not like the way you do anything, in the African National Congress, unity must mean that we work together so that we can advance the interests of our people. At the conference, comrades, we also took a number of important decisions. Radical resolutions were passed, such as the expropriation of land without compensation. Through this resolution, we are giving full effect to the demand that was articulated in the Freedom Charter that the land shall be shared amongst those who work it. The conference was very clear that go ahead and ensure that we do have land reform in our country. There should be land redistribution. And one of the mechanisms that you should use should be the expropriation of land without compensation, so that the land that was taken away from our people can be restored to the people of our country, so that the assets that are meant to work to improve the lives of our people, such as land, do precisely that. Comrades, we have started the process of doing precisely that. We are going to give full effect to this resolution and we will implement it. And we are going to implement it in a way that is going to ensure that our economy continues to grow, our food production goes up, and agricultural production also goes up. We are not going to sit back and not implement this and other resolutions. We are going to implement this resolution and many others. Whether people like it or not, these resolutions will be implemented. And this, comrades, we do so that we can correct what I've referred to as the original sin, which was the dispossession of the African people of their land. Next year, we'll see the election of the 6th administration. A decisive victory next year will be very crucial in order for us to be able to see the full implementation of the radical resolutions that were adopted at our conference. The infightings in our structures have to come to an end because they do not serve our people. They do not serve our organization. They only serve individuals' interests. Now, where we are now, we continue to see infighting. We continue to see comrades fighting for positions. We continue to see structures of our movement colliding with each other. And we are saying this must come to an end. It must end because we've got a very huge task ahead of us, which is the 2019 elections. We cannot go into those elections when we are divided, when we are fighting amongst ourselves. Our people will never take us seriously. So unity, therefore, is an imperative. We must be united if we want to win the 2019 elections. Without that unity, comrades, we will not be able to run an effective campaign. That unity we're talking about is about the unity of our alliance as well. We want to see a united alliance. We want to see a functioning alliance. We want to see an alliance that is alive. An alliance where we are joined at the hip and where we march in unison on a number of issues. I want to see an alliance, comrades, which is going to lead this revolution going forward, which is meant to improve the lives of our people. And with that, there should not be any junior member of the alliance. All the members of the alliance are equal, and we must speak with one voice. And the way we function as an alliance should be such that there is proper consultation. We must be able to talk amongst ourselves because this is a governing alliance. The African National Congress has been given the responsibility by the alliance partners to lead the alliance. But as it leads the alliance, it is leading equal partners of a revolutionary alliance. And that is how it should function. So, comrades, we'd like to see the alliance coming to life. We'd like to see the structures of the alliance throughout the breadth and the length of the country functioning effectively at branch level, at regional level, at provincial level, and at national level, where we are able to meet on an ongoing basis and not only drink tea, but also discuss issues that are important for our nation, issues that have to deal with the economy of our country. Right now, the economy of our country is not growing at the level at which we want it to grow. And the responsibility of the alliance is to make sure that the economy of our country grows, that we address the issue of unemployment. Too many of our people are unemployed. We need, as an alliance, to come up with strategies, plans, ideas, and solutions on how we are going to grow this economy, how we are going to attract investors to come and invest in our economy. But more importantly, how we are going to restructure this economy, sector by sector, so that we reposition our economy so that it becomes a modern, growing economy that is well attuned to the fourth industrial revolution. It is for that reason that I say we see mining as a sunrise sector. There are still a number of great opportunities in mining in our country, and we want to reposition our mining sector so that it can be attractive to investors, it can create jobs going forward, and where there are retrenchments that cannot be avoided, we should make sure that those workers who are retrenched are repositioned themselves from a skills point of view. They are reskilled, retooled, so that they never have to go back home and sit at home without a job. That is precisely what we want to focus on, and it is therefore important that the alliance should be an alliance that is forward-looking, an alliance that is going to come up with lots and lots of ideas of how we can reposition our country. Yesterday, Minister of Health released the National Health Insurance Bill, the NHI bill, that is going to revolutionize healthcare in our country so that we can have universal healthcare. Right now, the money that is being spent in healthcare is just growing by leaps and bounds. And there are just a few people in our country who benefit from medical aids. And those medical aids, they may seem to be a great thing for them to have. But with the medical costs continuing to go up, even those medical aids are going to be under a great deal of stress. Only 16% of our population have medical aids, and a number of medical aids are continuing to go bankrupt because the medical costs are going up. And it is for this reason that we are saying we should have a universal coverage for health care. Today, we have universal coverage for education. All our children have the right to be in school, to get educated, and we say health is a right that is enshrined in our Constitution. Section 27 gives everybody the right to have proper health care. And it is for this reason that we now have launched the NHI. And through the NHI, we are going to put up a fund. And all over the world, many countries in the world are moving towards a national healthcare system that is universal, that is overall coverage. And what that seeks to do is that those who have capabilities financially must help to subsidize those who do not. So the rich subsidize the poor, the healthy subsidize the sick, the young subsidize the old. That is what is happening throughout the world, and that's what we want to see here happening. Now, of course, there are vested interests. There are those who want to hold on to the existing system that is bringing a huge burden on our health sector. They will oppose it, but this is one decision that we are going to see implemented. Whether you like it or not, we are going to have universal health care in our country. Because our job as the governing alliance, as the African National Congress, is to make sure that all South Africans have access to the best health care. Right now, our hospitals are bearing a huge burden, and our health is in crisis, and we believe that the only way to put the healthcare system correct is to pool all resources. Everyone must make a contribution to make sure that we reposition our health. Now, this, comrades, as I conclude, speaks to the whole concept of solidarity. Solidarity, which is what our revolution is based on. We can only take this country forward if we all act in solidarity. If those who have are able to assist those who do not have. That is an important principle that we should all base what needs to happen in our country. With that, comrades, we will then be able to see our country moving forward. Our objective, comrades, is to see prosperity becoming an overarching benefit that all the people of our country can have. In October, we are going to have an investment conference through which we are hoping to raise billions and billions of rands. And we're going to attract a number of investors to come to our country. and showcase South Africa as a country of great opportunities. And through these great opportunities, we're hoping to create more jobs, to decrease the number of people who are unemployed, to reposition young people so that young people can know that they have a future that is bright in our country, and to empower women, to show that women get into their rightful place in the economy, their rightful place, yes, in society, and their rightful place, yes, in the home as well. And with that as well, we are saying the abuse of women and children must come to an end. We must stop the abuse of women and children. We need to treat the women of our country with respect, honor, and dignity. And we call on the men of our country, treat the women, the young women, and the women, the older women in our country with the greatest respect and the dignity that they deserve. That is what we should be doing. Women should never be seen as objects of men. Men should never think that they own women. Women have a right to be here just like you have a right. And I want to end with saying, in the workplace, you know, this for me has been the most wonderful, Mamelani. For me, in the mining industry, this has been the most wonderful development, which many of us never saw coming. Because when we started, the NUM did not have women members in large numbers. Sylvia Benjamin was the first treasurer of the NUM from Klerksdorp. And with time, we started seeing more women coming. But Ngoku, there are so many women in this industry, and we hope that the mining companies are paying them at the same level for the same amount of work that they are doing as they pay men. This is where we say there must be equal pay for equal work, and that must also happen to the women. Now, I conclude by saying the presence of women has just made you, NUM men members, much more good-looking, because we've got so many women, and it's fantastic. Senibahle ngoku, benibabi bengekho omama, seniyabukeka ngoku ngoba omama bakhona phakathi kwenu. And it is for that reason that we must respect and honor our women and make sure that they have a position of great pride within the NUM. I wish you a wonderful conference and great elections. Ngiyabulela.